Hello and welcome to Scrolling with Ceazor. Today is March 13th, 2026. It's actually Friday the 13th. If you understand superstition, then you know that you can worry your mind for nothing today if that's something you like to do. Anyways, so let's get right into it. As always, though, this is not financial advice. This is all my biased personal opinions based on the news that comes across my desk. So here we have the charts today. As always, there's another nice big green candle. I actually did buy a little bit of ETH yesterday, so I'm kind of happy with that. I just added to a CDP basically. I just bought some. Actually, I bought some RETH and put it into one of my CDPs, and I just made it a little bit more safe. So I'm happy with that trade. But I also put some, where is it? Here. I put a range order down here to buy some more in case we dump. But it might be poorly executed. But again, this is interest-bearing stablecoin, so I'm okay. It's actually SRFX USD. So check it out. Moving on, let's get into, let's check gold first. Gold is down today. Gold is all down. I probably should have pulled out up here and took my money and walked away. But anyways, I'm getting volume in here. As long as it doesn't go through the bottom, then I won't feel regret. As long as it's bouncing around in here, because at least, all the stable coins down here are interest bearing. I would just wish that gold was interest bearing, but yeah, it's kind of hard to get interest-bearing gold on chain. But anyhow, moving on. So let's get into Pharaohs first, as usual. Let's read what the bot has to say about stablecoins. I'm going to leave this here for you to read, basically the bedrock and the PSI and all that. I'm going to start skipping that and then just going straight into specific news down here. So here we have LSD. So that's the Liquidity stablecoin. It's version 1 Liquidity stablecoin. It's the type of thing like that. If it wasn't immutable and unstoppable, they probably would have started to sunset it and fold it down and migrate everybody to version 2. But since it's immutable and they can't stop it, because that's the ethos of Liquidity, it keeps running. But it is in a situation where it's starting to get a little bit scary. And a little while ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, Vitalik minted this or bought some of this coin. And I feel like the poor guy, it just blows my mind sometimes that someone of his caliber, who is so brilliant, doesn't know anything about DeFi and is 2 years behind the DeFi curve. And it's just I wish he would just I wish I could just sit down with him and just help him educate him on DeFi, because I'm sure he could probably absorb everything I know in an hour or two, right? Or something like that. Maybe not everything I know, but you get the point, right? So so it's at a alert now. So if we go to the DPEG tracker, I found out yesterday, I did a little bit more research on this. This is future facing. So this thing tells you about what might possibly happen. So if you have a protocol like SUSD, remember yesterday I was looking for SUSD on here and I couldn't find it. And I was like, why isn't SUSD here? But it's basically their peg score is 0. So it's already gone. It's past. This is supposed to give you the future. So if you're holding any of these coins here, and SUSD is there. If you're holding any of these coins here, then you can kind of consider whether or not you're sitting in a safe place or not. And you can consider, the outliers and stuff like that. So this future facing gives you stuff about the future, but basically LUSD is sitting here. And it is on the alert, and it's getting closer to being, depegged, problematic stablecoin. But the point is, it still works, and it's not a problem in the sense that something got hacked or something got broke. It's just that they designed a better version of it that doesn't have the redemption problems that the original one had. And because of that, it should be sunsetted. But in order for it to sunset, the users, the minters, need to get out of it. But there are some cases where, like, what is it worth right now? Does it say here? Like if I click on this, it's above peg, so that's rough. So basically people can't get out now because they probably minted this versus ETH, took it away, turned it into USDC or whatever, did whatever they do with their stable coins, right? And now they're looking at it and they're waiting for it to depeg to the downside, and then they can buy it on the cheap and repay their debt. That might be the case. The exit liquidity, I wish there was a number here. I wish I could like see right here, like how much exit liquidity there is. I'd have to dig a little bit deeper. So yeah, you're gonna have to, you want to look at the exit liquidity and see how much it is, and assess whether or not you buy it at a loss. So you pay more than $1 for $1 to repay your debt, or you wait for it to come down below peg and then repay that. So anyways, let's get back to the digest. So it's in alert status above peg. So sitting, it says off peg here, but maybe the bot should say above peg or below peg. That'd be nice. That's some good feedback. I'm gonna put that. Let's put off peg, make bot, make daily digest say above peg, below peg instead of off peg. And feature request. There we go. So anyhow, let's keep reading. Thanks for submitting. Alert. Let's see what else we have. Its peg subscore is 72, makes it the weakest B plus in the book. A grade. So USDA also climbed in the alert to 38 with 270 million in market cap, with a signal more gravitating pull. So yeah, it still has a pretty significant market cap, and it's sitting inside that area of. So, but it might be all like investor and team money. It might not be public money at all, this USDA. I don't know too much about USDA. I'll have to do some research on it, but maybe it's all just the team and the VCs who launched it and so forth. But I got to look a little bit deeper at that. Okay, the bank run gauge holds at 3.5 neutral, while OUSG and RLUSD posted net redemptions of 25 million and 15 million respectively. So these guys have some redemptions. So basically burning, so unminting, right? Nothing is breaking, but a record USDC supply, 2 fresh alerts, and quiet institutional outflows make for a kind of stillness that precedes either vindication or regret. So they always closes off with this kind of vaguey, who knows what's going to happen. And it's just so nice because it's true. We all sit there and we never know what's going to happen. We never know what other entities are going to do, and then how the market will react to that, whether it be bullish or bank runish. But anyways, that's the daily digest today. I do have a plan to do a full video of this on the weekend. So I'm going to go through every single one of these and talk a little bit about them. Now I'm going to go into major depth and stuff like that. That's for you. But just to give you a little taste of what all of these different tabs are and what they can, how they can help support your data consumption. Okay, so let's get into the news today. So the first tweet we have here is Frax Finance. I talked about this the other day. It's a South Korean stablecoin called KRWQ Cash. Kind of a bad name, but I don't know. I guess maybe the South Koreans will gravitate towards a name like that. But anyway, so FRX USD's role on-chain FX markets is going to continue to grow. Incentives coming soon to our curve pool for that. So that's one of the great things about Frax that I like, is that if you use their coin, in this case, you use FX USD as your other side coin, then they're going to put some incentives, whether they put it in their governance token or they vote on your pool with their VECRV voting power, but they will give you some juice. So if you do have a stable coin and you reach out to them and like, hey, I want a pool with FXUSD, you're more than likely able to get in touch with someone and actually get some incentives on your pool. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be the most juiciest thing in the world, but every little incentive makes a difference, right? So anyhow, you can't depend on them to support your pool, of course. Like you want to get your own incentives, your own voting power or governance token to bribe and get some more incentives, but you can count on Frax to like play game with you. And that's one of the great things about Frax, that throughout the years, I've always seen them kind of do this, okay? Moving on. So here we have Clouted. Okay, Clouted's got a pretty long post. He's a fun person to read and even to talk to and stuff. He's pretty degen, but smart at the same time. Like he's not a meme coin trencher, right? But let's see what he says. Someone asked me today, are you still bullish on ETH? Me, yeah, bro. Them, really? You think it's even going to double from here? Basically from a bare minimum what I see. So here are his points. And let's read them one by one, and I'll give you some extra hot air on some of them. With the amount of TradFi coming into Ethereum, so yeah, there's a lot of TradFi coming to Ethereum. They're not going anywhere else. They might get paid to go to Solana or other blockchains. They might have, exposed themselves to a few other blockchains as well for whatever reason, but the vast majority are coming to Ethereum, right? With the way the stablecoins are basically the next generation of banks holding treasuries, and even a small percentage of what people like Scott Bissett saying 3 trillion in stables, let's say it only gets to 1 trillion. So yeah, like stablecoins are superior, and once people realize that how easy it is to just hold stablecoins instead of like holding like cash in your bank account, like it becomes quite easy. Like there are quite a few apps out there now that allow you to kind of just hold stablecoins with interest bearing and spend that on your credit card. Like it doesn't get any easier than that for a normie. Like I'll give the example of the one I'm currently playing with, which is EtherFi's card. I'm in Canada, so Canada likes to protect me from interest from APR. So it's a little bit cumbersome. I have to kind of jerry rig it, like by the way I do it is I mint the interest-bearing stablecoins on chain and then send them into my Ether account, EtherFi account. However, if you're a burger, then you can just put USDC in there and you can mint a plethora of different interest-bearing stablecoins inside your vault. You're gaining your nice, decent APR, whether it be 3, 4, 5%, and you can spend it with your credit card. Like it doesn't get much better than that. That's way easier than like the traditional banking system, and you're not paying for buildings, and you're not paying for, antiquated like services and marketing and all this kind of stuff. Anyhow, so let's move on. The neo DeFi banks about to absorb unbankable and low bankable people in the world. So yeah, it's way easier to open an EtherFi account than it is to try to get a bank account with Chase Bank if you're in the Congo or something. I don't know which countries are considered low bankable in the world, but maybe that's a little bit to say the Congo might be racist, but I'm just trying to give an example. The increase of the geopolitical tension and people soon waking up to the need for a trustworthy cross-border asset. Gold in the Middle East is trading at a discount, for example, because it can't move. So yeah, so ETH is superior to even gold, he's saying, and I kind of agree with him, because like right now the gold in the Middle East, they can't ship it because there's a war, but you can ship ETH as long as the internet's running, right? Like if we go to Mad Max days where everybody's just like, fighting over oil in the desert, then even ETH won't work then, right? And maybe gold will work again, right? Because but it's going to be all oil and cans of corn, right? That's going to be the monetary premium. But anyhow, moving on. Increased need for privacy. So ETH is kind of working on privacy a little bit. There are privacy solutions on Ethereum that are pretty good. Privacy Pool is the one I like to use most. There is Railgun. There are even Tornado Cash, if that's something you want to use. Increased debanking and government seizure around the world. So there are governments continuing to seize. I think we did I saw a tweet the other day about which country was it? Maybe Venezuela, but I don't think it was Venezuela. I can't remember which country it was, but they seized like 45 or 47% of money from some high net worth individuals and people. So it was just crazy. Like that, like they can't seize your ETH unless they, lock you away and ask you for your keys, right? Basic de-dollarization and real inflation. So yeah, like that article I mentioned yesterday, I'm going to mention it again today when I get through it, but it talks a lot about how the Ponzi of the dollar, the actual dollar fiat currency Ponzi has been exposed, and more people are understanding that, they're getting played and they have no control over the inflation. The inflation is just out of control. It's the only way for governments to sustain themselves now is to just print and tax everybody through printing massive amounts of currency. And then they're also wasting it, especially my government. They like to send it to other countries, even though we can barely afford to buy ground beef. People can't even afford so much in my country, and they're having such a terrible time. Now, obviously, it's not the worst place in the world. That's definitely not true. But it's all because the government just I'm going to print this and give it to these guys as a favor, and hopefully, it'll work out in the end. But anyhow, moving on. White swans of AI bullshit, only banking on Ethereum. I don't know exactly what he means. I think he just means that AI is going to use Ethereum because it can predict what's going to happen, whereas banking, you can't. The AI will not trust the traditional banking system. Addressing quantum resistance while Bitcoin doesn't, so Ethereum is, talking about it. So you can read through the rest of his little his shill and his little financial advice, if you will, and decide what you want to do. But yeah, in my opinion, I'm not selling any ETH. Sometimes my wife will say, hey, I want to sell some of the ETH now. I'm I'm not selling here, man. Look at this chart. Why would I sell down here when it definitely can go up here? There's no possible way. Let's see what we got here. So we're sitting here. This is a 100% increase just to all-time high. And then it could just blow through the top of it. Now, if we can get back to ultrasound money where ETH starts burning, then we'll be laughing. Let's check that out. Let's see how we're sitting. Ultrasound money. Ultrasound money. It's probably pretty ugly in regards to that. So ETH supply. Where's the burn? Blob gas projections. The burn. So this is the total burn. Flippening. I can't remember where it is. Anyhow, I don't want to sit here looking through stuff while you guys are listening, but I'm pretty sure ETH proof of work, ETH BTC. Anyhow, so yeah, the inflation's a little bit high right now because we've been given free transactions pretty much with blobs to L2s. But at the same time, we want to promote L2s, or not we, but everyone on Ethereum. So it's a weird one. So we are not ultrasound. I got to look through this again. I got to remember where that chart is. What I was looking for. There was a chart where it was negative before and then goes up. Maybe it's because this time frame is only 7 days. So if we go to 30 days, yeah. So here we go. So ETH has got less inflation than Bitcoin over 4 years, and way less inflation than proof of work Bitcoin. So there was a time when it went negative, but I don't see it on this chart. But anyway, let's stay with that. Let's just keep moving on. So there's Clouded. If you don't know who Clouded is, give him a follow. He's a cool guy, and he's smart, like I said, and he speaks like a normal person, so which is great. Moving on. So here we have this is the news of the day, and this has just happened to be the first one I saw. But like if you go on Twitter today, you're definitely going to see 6 or 7 posts about this in a matter of seconds, and it's all just about this, because it's pretty significant, and it's like Aave, when something bad happens on Aave, then it's huge news, because Aave is like the central bank of crypto. And I don't actually use Aave that much. Sometimes I'll lend USDC on Aave just to kind of put it somewhere until I find a better place to put it. But I don't think of it as the safest place for my money, because it has cross-contaminations. I believe, to be total honest, I believe Morpho is a superior product to Aave. It's just Morpho, you need to do your homework. You need to check carefully what collaterals you're lending to, whereas Aave, you can kind of trust that they're taking care of it, and they've got a pretty good track record of taking care of it. However, we're hearing more and more news about this, and I'm going to go through some of the news here. So it says, this is a valid point. So it's just for some context, some guy traded $50 million worth of USDT and he got $36,000 worth of Aave tokens by swapping on the Aave front end via CowSwap protocol. Now Aave tokens cannot take a trade of 50 million. There's not enough liquidity there to take that trade. So whoever has $50 million worth of USDT on Aave probably understands this. It's very unlikely that they don't understand this. And probably they set their slippage tolerance to 95% or something. And that's intentional, right? They didn't do this it wasn't a pure accident likely, but it could be. I'm not saying it's not 100%, but it's very unlikely. So let's see what Vadlium says. And I agree with him, okay? So it says, nobody accidentally swaps 50 million into a pool with 36,000 liquidity. Lol. Fresh wallet, 50 million from Binance, 0 slippage protection, routed through the jankiest Uniswap path possible. Then an MEV bot just happens to borrow a flash loan of 29 million from Morpho at the same block and pocket 9.9 million. So the thing is here, okay, an MEV bot just happens to borrow. This is all automated, okay, so that doesn't even need to be planned. That's just going to happen, okay? So if anyone does this swap, that MEV bot's going to see it immediately, borrow, and do this. So that doesn't need to be planned. So we can't quite unquestionably say that the MEV bot was in on it. Okay, we can't say that for sure, because an MEV bot's going to do this instantaneously, automatically, every single time, right? So, and then he says, come on, 0x not going to make it. This is the DeFi Llama guy. Called this exact play a year ago. Construct a deliberately terrible swap. Let a friendly bot extract the value. Dirty money becomes out the other side as legit MEV profit. 154K per Aave isn't a fat finger. It's a laundering fee. So he's being accusatory, but I agree with him that what he's saying is way more likely than someone just fat fingered, didn't know what they were doing, took $50 million off of Binance into a fresh wallet, and then decided to buy Aave tokens with them and get wrecked. I find that very, very unlikely. So what he's saying is that this is stolen funds that was sent through Binance, or maybe extracted value, or somebody was wants a tax write-off or something like this. And now the MEV bot is could even be the same person. We don't know. Maybe Binance knows, but it could be the same person. And now he's just washed some of his money. And that's kind of the the take on the negative pessimistic take on Twitter right now is that this was all intentional. It was an attempt to wash some money, and like you can't. It's hard to debate him. Okay, moving on to, there's a long article here from Ihsan. So Ihsan collected a lot of the data and kind of put it out here. You can read through this if you want a deeper dive into this and how that worked out and all of this data. So he's you can read it. I haven't read through this, but there is a lot more data in here, so you can check it out. And then let's moving on. Okay, so I'm not going to dwell too much on that. I have something else on Aave later, which sadly is separate bad news. But anyhow, moving on. So Flying Tulip USDC is now live on Sonic. So there was all this talk before about Sonic has when Flying Tulip is not on Sonic, you said it would be, and now it's starting to. Like it takes time. They couldn't put the actual CDPs on there, unfortunately, but now you can bridge this Flying Tulip token to Sonic, use it as in LPs likely in the future. And so it does say FTUSD lets users earn yield on USDC and soon USDS. Incentives points are now live. So yeah, you could check it out. I did, a little while ago, I said I should probably put my money where my mouth is and mint a little bit. I did mint a tiny little bit, not anything that's going to blow your mind or make anyone rich, but I did mint some, and you can consider minting if that's something you want to do. Again, do your homework, okay? Check it out. I have videos on Flying Tulip if that's something you want to learn about. Moving on. So 0x not going to make it. He's talking a little bit about back to the cow swap, Aave swap thing. So he says, my number one priority at Llama Swap is user safety and making sure our users don't get wrecked. As far as I know, right now, we are the only meta aggregator. So a meta aggregator is an aggregator of aggregators. When you go to Llama Swap, it checks all of the different swap locations, all the different aggregators, Odos, Cow Swap, Kyber Swap, 1inch. It checks them all and gives you a list to choose which one and the possible outcomes of those swaps, right? So their meta aggregate outright blocks swaps like this because of their focus on safety. It's, in my opinion, too easy to sleepwalk through warnings, or they can fail. We got to protect. So what he's saying here is, especially for someone like me, like DeFi, like OG, who's does massive amounts of transactions all the time, then I sometimes just click, and I just, because I know I'm in a routine where click, and I might not have checked my warnings or checked my slippage tolerance. And he says that if you use Llama Swap, it's going to revert. It won't allow you to make a swap where you turn 50 million into 36,000. So, which is nice, but again, this is assuming that actor did not want to actually make that swap and wasn't trying to wash his money. Okay, so check out Llama Swap. It's fantastic. And while you're at it, add the Llama search to your Chrome extensions, and it basically gives you if you go here and put Llama Swap, it knows what Llama Swap is, and make sure you don't click shady Google ads, phishing ads and stuff like that. So you can check that out. Do both. I would suggest you do. Moving on, where are we? Here, 0x not going to make it. Here is FX Protocol. This is interesting. So FX Protocol allows you to borrow FX USD versus WST ETH on base in Morpho. So this is let me open this up. So this is an interesting thing. Okay, so you can borrow FX USD on mainnet. You can mint it on mainnet versus WST ETH, right? And you will pay one-time fee, zero interest. So at first when I read this, it's why would I want to go to base and do this and pay interest of it says 1.1, but if I go here, currently it's still at 1.1. And where's the collateral? Collateral is only WST ETH. So only WST ETH exposure. You can lend FXUSD here. You're going to get slightly less than 1.1, which is not fantastic, but maybe they are funding this with their own money. There's only 24K in here, but you can use it. So, but let's get back to the point. Why would I want to like borrow on Morpho and pay an ongoing interest rate when I can just mint it on mainnet and pay no interest, just pay that fee, right? Well, the point here is, number one, you're going to continue to hold your WST ETH and get that WST ETH interest. Whereas when you mint on mainnet, you're only minting versus ETH. You're forfeiting the WST ETH yield to the governance token holders on FX protocol. So to mint on Morpho, you can do like a shorter term mint. Maybe you can arbitrage some interest rates, and you get to maintain your ETH compounding yield. So that's a reason to do it. And then also you can do it on Base where it's super cheap, and maybe you only need a couple $100 or $1,000 or something, and you don't want to do it on mainnet where it's a little bit more expensive. Anyhow, so there is another option here for your FXUSD. Check it out. Moving on. Here, Ryan Adams, Bankless. He's talking. He retweeted Vitalik here, and let's quickly open Vitalik's post and see what it says, and then I'll go back to Ryan and talk about it. So Vitalik says, it's taking a while to load. Come on. So Vitalik, as you can see, Vitalik is going autistic on us and just posting blah, 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 blah. I don't want to read this all out loud to you, so I'm just going to take, it is here. You can read it if you want. But over the past year, many people I talked to have expressed worries about two topics. I'll just read his topics and then you can get into a little bit more. Various aspects of the way the world is going: government control and surveillance, wars, corporate. So yeah, the macro, terrible government, dystopian garbage, right? And then the other one is the brute reality that Ethereum needs to be absent from meaningful improving the lives seems to be absent from meaningfully improving the lives of people subject to these things. Even our own dimensions we deeply care about: freedom, privacy, security, digital life, community, self-organization. So he's like, two things. Number one, the world's going to the shitter. People with power are taking vast amounts of control over the people of the world. And then the fact that Ethereum doesn't seem to be fighting against this, right? That's kind of what his post is. Now, of course, go in, read his details, get deeper dive. But let's see what Ryan translates that to. ETH is sanctuary money. So there's more to it then. Sanctuary tech is awesome, but too broad to describe what Ethereum is actually doing and what it is able to do in the future. We have a ledger. Ledger technology has revolutionized human coordination and built civilization from the first ancient Mesopotamian tablets 5,000 years ago. Let's focus on property rights for assets and functions on that ledger. Focus sanctuary money. So yeah, I agree with him. I want to read this, and I'm going to put it on my to read and leave it up for me to read after and see what Vitalik says. Vitalik's always a difficult read though, right? Moving on. So here we have ETH Foundation, Ethereum Foundation, dropping their mandate, ETH Foundation mandate article. You can read the entire blog here, but it's clearly pretty simple. They do have a thread here that kind of TLDRs it, so I'll read some of the things. So the mandate clearly states what must be protected. ETH Foundation will, above all else, remain focused on Ethereum that is censorship resistant, open source, private, secure, in the service of user self-sovereignty, resistant to extraction, with seamless UX. So you can read the full blog and kind of get a little bit more information about it. And they actually put the mandate on chain right here, so you can see it in Etherscan as well. It's there for everyone to read forever. Okay. Now let's hope they do kind of, go through with this. And, I sometimes I find that the Ethereum Foundation, like all of these things are fantastic. All these things I agree with, but at the same time, they kind of feel a little bit unplugged from the reality of us degens who are actually using Ethereum, as opposed to like people who are stinking rich and care about all of these little things. Well, I don't want to say little's the wrong word, but all of these specific things. But let's move on. So here we have an article from Star Platinum. Oh, geez, I've got too many articles on this. So again, this is basically a little bit more general about how to understand money laundering without being a criminal. So you can read through this, and he talks a little bit about how people have traditionally used different aspects of crypto to launder their money, to clean their money, and maybe to wash their money, lose their money. So things like what we're talking about, the cow swap, the possibility that he is trying to launder his money. And here is a lot of different kinds of possibilities of how crypto could be used or has been used in the past to launder money in different ways. So you can check out this post from Star Platinum. Usually Star Platinum does a lot of deep dives on individual people, but I kind of like this post a little bit better. Here we go. Some more Sonic shilling. So Sonic, I got Sonic bags, so I'm going to keep talking about it. I like using Sonic. People hate on them. Most of the people who tweet about Sonic is I don't want to call it FUD, because FUD kind of is like untruthful usually, even though FUD is generally not untruthful. But like you get the idea. It's usually people just like tweeting out bullshit to like make things look bad. So that's usually what FUD means, at least in my mindset. But what most people are tweeting are genuine questions and concerns and worries. So it's not quite the same as what we consider FUD. I don't know exactly. Different people have different definitions of FUD, but when I think of FUD, that's kind of what I think of. So anyways, I have bags. So I want bags. I want the thing to pump. And, now they've got a dashboard that allows you to like check how much S has been burned because people have been, rage quitting their NFTs and stuff like that. But here's something else worth sharing. And that is Binance has staked 76 million Sonic tokens. So they've fired up a validator, and they're going to support the Sonic network. Now, did Sonic pay Binance to do this? I don't know. I'm not sure. Probably based on Binance history, but now people can get. They can stake their S on Binance directly, as opposed to having to go off chain and buy a liquid staking token or something like that. I assume, but I got to look a little bit deeper. But I thought it's worth sharing, and especially since I want my bags to pump back up, so I'm going to share Sonic stuff with you. So Hey Anon has tweeted this out today, and so the agents are getting an upgrade. Okay, so let's read through some of these points. So secure asset management, 45 DeFi protocols integrated, every popular L1 and L2, and centralized exchanges. So I don't really know. This is kind of vague. Hey Anon, all of Danny's kind of products are they like to tweet out vague stuff, but there is an article down here that's like build 2.3 agentic engineering, and I will tweet that out inside my tweets, and you can kind of read a little bit deeper on the output of what they have designed and what they're planning on building. Now, I don't have any Anon tokens. I'm not very biased on them, but I will be disclosure and say that they are a sponsor of this podcast. So moving on, let's get to something else. So yesterday I shared this article, and yesterday after I shared it, I actually read through the whole thing. So at first, Rectomedes had TLDR'd it, and I read his tweet too yesterday. But then since then, I read through this, and it's a very long article, but it is very good. There's a lot of information in here. Now, it's not an article that like says do A, B, C, and you will be rich. It's more like it kind of increases your general knowledge about the situations of our world and how monetary policy has been molded over the years, and the results of it, and where we are now, and what's the possible future outcomes based on the author's ideas. I will share this again today because I think it's a good read, and I will highlight it that you should probably consider reading it. It's you have to set across a good amount of time to read through an article of this size, and then to also stop and pause and think and digest. So yeah, I'm sharing it again. So check it out. Let's move on to the next one. So here we have Shalag. So Shalag is one of the Yearn devs, and is a long article here about a new product that they dropped that you can check out. There's a link down here, and you can open it and you can look at it. But first, I would highly suggest you read this. This is a Yearn article, or sorry, a new Yearn product. It's not a stable coin, it's a vault. It has a lot more exposure to what you normally expect from a Yearn vault. Yearn has always been very conservative with their product, with their production level products on Yearn, the Yearn main website. However, over the years, things have matured and things have become more stable, and now they're more comfortable offering you a product that is very robust and makes DeFi easy for you. It's a deposit and forget and let them do everything for you. So the things that they're going to be doing is, first of all, there is a little bit of duration risk because you put in there and you have I think it's 14 days. I'm pretty sure it is. I don't want to dig around for it. So I think it's a 14-day deposit withdrawal cooldown. So when you deposit, you cannot get your money back for 14 days because that money is being sent across bridges, liquidity. It's going to be used for leverage. It's PT tokens, so different kinds of Pendle or Spectra like PT token splitting, leverage loops, RWAs, L2s. So the money's like they're going to take care of everything. But what makes this special is everything is on chain. There's no black box. There's no AOEs. There's no multi-sigging. It's all strategies written in code, put on chain for you to verify what's going on. So it's worth checking out. I'm going to open this up right now and see what the front end is currently quoting, and then that might make you a little bit more interested. It's currently quoting 7.5% stablecoin yield if you lock, 6.2 if you don't lock. So yeah, you can check it out. You have the choices of unlocked and locked, depositing, and so forth. So check it out. It's definite, and like as always, everything's here. You can see everything that they're doing. They sent some to Arbitrum. They've sent some here, all these different things. You're definitely exposed to a lot more than if you are going into a regular Yearn vault. But this is something that you can maybe consider taking a little bit more risk with some of your capital for a little bit more reward and exposure to a little bit more stuff. Okay. So anyways, I thought I would share that. As always, Yearn is one of my favorite protocols to check out, and you can always like check this out. And they do have a debank here that you can kind of open up this debank, and it's like a bundle, a bundle of pretty much everything that you're exposed to, and you can kind of go through and see. So you have Amorpho, the syrup on Aave, and this will change over time. So you can kind of watch this. This is a little bit easier to read than just kind of looking here, right? Anyhow, let's move on. So I said I was going to talk about Aave again today, and this is what I want to talk about. Okay, so Mark Zeller, who's basically on the team that is leaving Aave, and he's talking about some stuff that was said inside the Aave Telegram. Now I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to talk about what's said. Okay, so the Aave protocol was originally designed by people that had user-friendly architecture in mind, and that's the large part of its success. For example, if you try to withdraw collateral on Aave to a point that it would trigger a liquidation, the protocol will revert the transaction, which makes sense, right? You shouldn't be able to force liquidation by withdrawing large amounts of capital. Like I don't think there's very many protocols that would allow people to do that, because there's no point in allowing that, as it's hurtful for the user. Product design must be at its core user-friendly. Aave has now new cooks in the kitchen, and the mindset seems different. And he's retweeting like a snippet from Emilio, who says, more like a checkbox for I am retarded than you have to check. So what that kind of, when you read this, there's definitely context missing, but when you read this, you kind of feel like what you're gonna like make people check like a box to allow them to get liquidated, or to say that they know that they could easily get liquidated. That's kind of the message you get by reading these tweets, right? But Amelia comes in and says, takes an out-of-context message from one of the most degen DeFi channels on Telegram. I don't know which Telegram channel that is. Attempts to use it as proof for whatever this is meant to prove. Never change, Zeller. So now they're fighting in public over this kind of stuff. Mark Zeller, he has some points, like, and I assume Emilio has some points here. I don't have the full story, so I wish I did, but at the same time, I don't really use Aave very much anymore anyways, so I'm going to kind of share the news with you, and you can, if you're an Aave, hardcore Aave user, I would highly suggest you dig a little bit deeper on what is these messages, what's going on here. If the cooks are in fact trying to change the protocol to allow people to trigger liquidations, that's insane, right? But I don't think that's going to happen. I highly doubt that. But, you know, allowing someone to swap $50 million for $36 million through their front end kind of does show a little lack of user-friendly architecture, right? But again, I like that's assuming that was not intentional and that was not planned, that someone did not do their research and decide to do that on purpose, and that actually was an accident, right? And then we have the news yesterday about the Aave, the Chaos Labs messed up Oracle price, and then the fact that the DAO is footing the bill for what the Chaos Labs did and stuff like that. But anyways, so more and more FUD and bad news and in drama about Aave on the timeline. So I've got, that's it for DeFi. I've got 2 tweets today that talk generally about life. Here is one here about the user experience on X. Okay, so someone says, how old were you when you found out this is how to wear earbuds? And then the guys, if you can't see this, there's a picture of an earbud and it's folded upways, and then the little tail on the earbud is like flipped into the back of the ear, and it kind of sits quite nicely and it won't fall out, and it's just a little bit more comfortable. And then Luigi, someone I follow, is just like mind blown, right? But the thing I want to mention here is like it got community noted. Community spent the time to say clearly that is not how to wear earbuds as shown on the Apple's official website, and then there's a link. What a waste of time, right? Like, come on, guys. Like, that does not mean that this is the official way to wear it. Mohammed, the guy, original poster, he's not saying that this is the design way. He's saying, I have discovered a cool way to wear these earbuds and check it out, right? And the community noting them. I think that to be crazy. Last thing I want to mention, today is Friday the 13th. You can go to Tubi. and you can watch Friday the 13th and get a little more culture. This movie was created in 1980. It's OG. It's pathetic and terrible in the sense of like it's not going to probably scare you like it scared people who lived in 1980. So if you are, 21 years old, you're going to watch this and think, what the hell, right? But it's classic horror movie where it's at now when you watch it, it's almost comedy. But if you watch it, you will understand what is this Friday the 13th all about. And then there's a whole bunch of other movies like Friday the 13th where it's basically just people killing some killer guy who goes on a rampage and just starts killing people. And so you can check out this Friday the 13th, have some fun, maybe get scared, I'm not sure. There are some pretty cool movies out there. I particularly like Nightmare on Elm Street, which is not shown here because it's a little more like scary in the mental aspect of things. So it's another one to check out. So I don't know how old you are and whether you know what these movies are, whether you've seen them, but they're worth watching at least once in your life and kind of to understand history and culture and what your parents grew up with. Okay, so that's it for today. I thank you so much for watching or listening, and goodbye.